Hello SRL fans, and welcome to another race weekend. Today we have round 5 of the SRL Formula 1 World Championship ahead of us. It is at the very famous Italian track Imola, and it is of course the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So we're just waiting, as per usual, for drivers to join in and getting situated in their cars. So we are going to run through the grid in a short amount of time. Mainly because we have a couple of new faces here today, as you may be able to tell. So yeah, as I said, just get comfortable, get ready, because I think we're going to have a cracking race here at the famed Imola circuit here today, and definitely a track that has thrown up a couple of interesting races in the past in SRL. And from what I've gathered, it is a track that the majority of the drivers do find enjoyable driving. But it is a bit of a handful. It's a very narrow circuit. It's one of the old school tracks. So it does make overtaking a little bit more difficult through the majority of the racetrack, but obviously we do have the long start-finish straight leading into the chicane that is turns 1, 2 and 3. And that is obviously the prime opportunity for overtaking. Otherwise, the penultimate corner is also a place where people usually tend to throw an overtake. But let's see if we can be surprised maybe here today. But just quickly, let's run through the grid. Sandro Dulis, as per usual, he's going to be in the Scuderia Ferrari. And at the moment, Tim Venting is occupying the other seat, but that is obviously not who is supposed to be there. It is Dion Stahl, who's going to be partnering up with Sandro Dulis. And then we have the homeboy in the Williams, Nicolo Falsaresi. This is a track that this race is only a couple of kilometers away from where he actually lives. So he is definitely the guy to watch here today. He will be looking for a great result. And same goes for his teammate Jamie Jägerström. The Williams pairing have really been going at it in recent races. Last time out in Austria, we also did see them try a bit of an aggressive strategy when it was changing from dry to wet conditions. But and obviously it did work out for one of them, but unfortunately not for both. And he is just finishing up on Nicola Falsaresi for now. Obviously he's going to be looking to maybe get a podium here today. That is definitely his priority. Tim Venting is going to be in the Red Bull in a short moment. And he most likely will be joined up by Nick van Gelder. I'm not sure if Van Gelder has said if he is racing or not. We can have a quick look. Let's have a look. Van Gelder will be in the other Red Bull, so we are just waiting for him to join. And then Jesper Lempinen, who obviously made his first appearance last time out. He's back again in the V-Carb. Be interesting to see what he can do today. And in the other V-Carb, we have a new face and a nationality represented that we haven't seen in a very long time in SRL. It is Justin Kowal, who's going to be representing Poland. And the last time we had a Polish driver was actually at the same team, coincidentally enough. All the way back in seasons 2, if my memory serves me correctly. So that was way before we started live streaming here on YouTube. So that is going to be interesting to see how Kowal can do here today. We have Christian Dorman back in the McLaren, and he is going to be partnering up with returning Italian driver Vincenzo Torre, who is substituting for Jensen Randall here today. So once again, Randall not going to be taking part in an SRL race. Very interesting to see how his championship defense is going to go along, but that remains to be seen. We have the company of Thodoros Samanitis once again. This time, he is no longer a reserve driver, but he has been upgraded to a full-time driver in the Kick Sauber, and he is going to be partnering up with Alex Benedicchetti alongside him. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. So his first race as a full-time driver this season. Going to be interesting to see what he can produce. He's been very solid so far. The Greek driver, last time out, substituted for Dion Stahl, and really did produce a good result, actually. Moving on, we have Jerome Adamaco, our current championship leader. Won last race by a huge margin, and he is going to be looking to do very similar things here today in the Mercedes. So let's see if that doesn't go the way of him. Then we have Robin Herstadhagen back in the Haas. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. Dion Stahl we already touched upon, and the same with Venting. And then we have Jack Richards, who is going to be substituting for Alexei Koivoniemi in the Alpine. And that is the current grid that we have at the moment, but I do have a slight suspicion that we are going to see a couple of more drivers join in. So we are just going to hang on and wait for a moment. And I guess we can just touch upon last week's race. If you haven't watched it, it is definitely recommended that you do. It was a very, very good race, to be fair, even though the victory was never in question, as we mentioned. Jerome Adamaco very comfortably took race victory by over 30 seconds. And then it was Jensen Randall and Tim Venting who came home in P2 and P3. But there was a bit of a battle going on there. So, yeah, very interesting as we see Max Mulder, who's going to be in the Alpine as per usual. It'll be interesting to see what he can do, see if he can pick himself up from a couple of bad results after a very, very strong first couple of races. So let's see what the Dutchman can do here today. And we see a lot of support. Well, there is some support for Samanidis in the live chat. That is very, very nice to see. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can pick pole position here. Obviously, new faces. We don't know what they're capable of. We have seen a lot of different drivers make a bidding for the pole positions when we have done qualifying. So it's not necessarily up for... It's not easily going to be determined. Also taking into consideration that both Adamaco, Jägerström and Van Gelder, all three have qualifying suspensions. So that means they are going to be starting at the back of the grid here today. And that just makes, well, I guess everything a little bit more interesting, especially in terms of Jägerström and Adamaco. Adamaco did hear a rumor from himself saying that he was going to attempt a last to first challenge. Let's see if he's going to make it work here today. But we are getting into qualifying. Going to be interesting to see what kind of weather we have here in Emilia Romagna at the Imola track. Obviously a race that has had a couple of name changes, both in real life but also in SRL. For those who have been watching for longer than this season will know that last year and the year before that, when Imola was back on the calendar, we actually used to run it under the San Marino Grand Prix name, which was a bit of a callback to what F1 used to do in the past as well. But much like Formula 1 in recent time, we have elected for this season to have the official name this year. Also out of respect for the home hero Falsaresi. It wouldn't make a lot of sense since he is not San Marinese. It wouldn't make sense to have it being called the San Marino Grand Prix. But it is a bit overcast here for qualifying. Doesn't look like we're going to have rain at the moment. Not really a lot of activity. We see some activity now down at Williams and VCARB. So let's see if that is the new man. It doesn't look like it was. That must be Jesper Lempinen then. And he heads out on track. And we are gonna just ride along with the Finn here as he goes for his outlap. Be interesting to see who we think might be on pole here today at the end of qualifying. Let's see if we can find... There he is, the home hero, Falsaresi. He is also running a bit of a different livery on his helmet, it seems. Don't know whether that is a special one-off helmet for this particular track. I haven't heard anything from him, so I wouldn't know. But he is definitely running a different look to his helmet. So that is... he's obviously gonna try and do his very best here today for the home fans. And what a track to be able to call your home Grand Prix. An icon of the Formula 1 calendar, for sure. But we're gonna jump on here with Jesper Lempinen as he starts his first flying lap in qualifying. He's going to be the first driver to start a flying lap here today. As he heads over the start-finish line, there's a long pull into turn 1, a very fast sequence of corners, very easy to track extend, but he keeps it within the white lines, the Finn. And then turns 5 and 6. Also very fast, and then we have this long left-hander that seems to go on forever. Also uphill. Then we head into probably one of the trickier corners around this track. It is almost blind. Oh, keeps it just on track there, Lempinen. And then into Acqua Minerale, which this corner is named. Keeps it very nice through there, and then we go into the last chicane here. Now this is probably the trickiest bit of the track. Don't want to take too much curb. It doesn't look like Lempinen did that. And then the final 2 corners, this downhill braking zone catches a lot of drivers out, almost catches Lempinen out, but he keeps it. And now it is just the run to the line, and it is going to be a 1:16.7 for the VCARB driver, so not that bad. And if we just quickly find Falsaresi, he is heading into the pits as he looks to have track extended on his first flying attempt. And instantly, Justin Koval has improved upon his teammates for today's lap time. So the Polish driver showing what he's made of, and Christian Dorman also slotting into the P2 spot in between the 2 VCARBs, and Vincenzo Torre has now taken provisional pole in the other McLaren. So lap time starting to come down here. Let's jump to Dion Stahl, who at the moment is on the tail end of his flying lap. Takes out the bollard there, and he jumps to P4. So at the moment we haven't cracked under the 1:15.5 mark yet. Interesting to see what the different drivers can do. Tim Ventink now. The man who finished in P3 last time out. Couldn't overtake Jensen. He has a prime opportunity here today. He goes provisional pole. Almost cracks into the 114s. And that is what he needs to do with his championship rival, Jerome Adamako, relegated to the back of the grid due to his penalty for today. That is definitely what he would want to do. Sandra Dooley's. It is not a flying lap that is finished. It is a flying lap that is started. So let's just keep on board here with the Greek driver. Back with his orange helmet. Ran a one-off helmet last time out to represent a bit of his Greek nationality pride. That is always very lovely when we see drivers do that, but he's back to the orange lid here at one of two Italian Grand Prix that we are going to have this year, or Grand Prix taking place in Italy, should we rather say. So he will definitely be looking to do something special here, since it is... well, it is always Ferrari's home turf whenever we go to Italy, it feels like. Even though this track, speaking geographically, it would make more sense to call it V-Carp's home turf. But he is almost finishing his flying lap here. It's kept it within the white lines so far. It looks to be a pretty decent lap. Ooh, just runs onto the curb there. Almost. Track extends and he goes provisional pole. So a very good lap time there for Sander Dooley's. Cracks under the 115 mark. And he is the first driver to do so. That is very impressive, I would say. So very good on... Sandra Dooley's there. Let's see if we can find... where is... let's pick up Max Mulder here. He's invalidated his first flying lap attempt. And he is heading into the pits due to that. Let's pick up the other Alpine here. Jack Richards. Coming around the final corner to finish his flying lap. He goes P7 with a 1:16.4. Not a bad result, and right behind him it is Dion Stahl who begins a flying lap. So let's just jump on board with him. You see that very beautiful helmet that he is running. Almost a bit of blue there, along with the red, into the first couple of corners. Very tidy from the Dutchman. And then there's a long left-hander we spoke of. He posts a purple first sector. I don't know exactly if that is something we can rely on. But if it is true, then he has found some pace. And the man down in P8 at the moment. We have a couple of drivers. Oh, as Dion Stahl spins it. Coming up the hill from Acqua Minerale. Maybe just applying the throttle a little bit too early there. And thus, he is heading back to the pits for a new front wing. Let's pick up Falsaresi here. He's just started a new lap. Purple sector 1. So let's see what the Williams can do here on home turf for its driver. We have a yellow flag in sector 2. That is just people letting other people past. Oh, very, very aggressive into Acqua Minerale there from Falsaresi, but he keeps it pointing in the right direction. And then we have this chicane. Oh, sliding it through there. He is toying this car around the track. And a purple second sector. Is this going to be provisional pole for the home hero? Samanidis jumps to P3 in the Kick Sauber. Very, very solid attempt from him. And Falsaresi to the line. He goes provisional pole. It's a 1:14.645 for the Italian. So a very solid attempt from him. And he will be hoping that that can keep himself up there. But we missed it just briefly. Samanidis improving to what was P3, currently P4. Very good job from the Greek in the Kick-Sauber. At the moment, there's only a handful of drivers out on track. Let's pick up... who should we pick up? Let's pick up Vincenzo Torre. We have seen him a couple of times in SRL. He's invalidated his first attempt here. Or his second attempt. He's currently on a 1:15.65. Sitting in P6. The substitute Italian here today. And he will obviously also be hoping to maybe trouble the top of the timesheets. That is definitely something he will be looking to do. And if you are just joining in and wondering why the likes of Jerome Adamaco and Jamie Jägerström haven't posted a lap time yet, it is simply due to the fact that they both have a qualifying suspension for this Grand Prix due to a bit of argy-bargy that did happen at the last race, unfortunately. So they won't be allowed to partake in qualifying and thus starting at the back of the grid for today's proceedings. But that will just make it even more exciting, especially if we look at someone like Jerome Adamaco, who has proven himself to be a very, very solid driver. So... But we pick up the other Mercedes here of Ivan Brito. He's just started a lap time ahead of Vincenzo Torre. The number 45 Silver Arrow. Max Mulder jumps to P4. Very solid attempt from him. As Ivan heads in to the tail end of the first sector. He's improved by 0.3 on his previous lap time. So that is a good improvement from the Portuguese driver. Nick van Gelder has decided to join the session here now and is going to be with us for the race. Ivan Brito running very wide there into the gravel trap. Doesn't invalidate his lap time though. So if he can keep it on track for the rest of the lap, he could potentially post a lap time. Tim Ventig improves provisional pole by a couple of tenths. 1:14.556 for the Dutchman. And removes Falsaresi from the top. Dulis improves to P2. Falsaresi is down to P3 at the moment. As we watch Ivan Brito come around the final corner, we have Vincenzo Torre right behind him. Ivan Brito improves one position. Falsaresi doesn't improve the position, but improves his lap time. And now I am interested in seeing... Oh, there we see him. Nicolo Falsaresi heading out of the pits. Time is ticking down here in qualifying. We have just under 5 minutes left. And Falsaresi, much like everyone else, has seen what has happened at the top of the timesheets. And he has been displaced by not only Venting, but also Dulis. And for the homeboy hero, that is not going to be it. So he heads out on track. George Wilkes at the moment sitting in P4. We haven't talked about the Aston Martin driver. Kind of flew under the radar here today before we started proceedings. But he is currently sitting in P4, so a very, very solid job so far. And at the moment it seems drivers are just waiting time out before we are going to see the last couple of attempts to see who will start at the front. We see Jerome Adamaco has elected to retire from the session. So he's going to be starting P15 for today's race. Jägerström in P16 and Nick van Gelder in P17. So it will be very exciting to see what the protagonists of this race. Speaking of protagonists, we have Falsaresi, who's just starting his flying lap attempt here. So let's see what the Italian can do. Runs it very wide into turn 1. Keeps it within track limits. That is very, very fast through there from the 99 Williams. Into turns 5 and 6. Very solid there. And then the long left-hander here for turn 7. Heading up the hill. Don't over-rotate. He keeps it, and then it is this very tricky corner at the top of the hill. It's almost blind, the braking zone. Keeps it very nicely, and then Acqua Minerale. Lot of pace kept through there. Very solid from him. And then this final chicane. Attacks the curbs very aggressively like we saw on his first attempt. And now it is just the final 2 corners. It's 2 left-hand corners. Almost 90 degrees, both of them. But they are tricky in their own right. But Falsaresi through the final corner. What's it going to be for the home favourite? It is provisional pole. It's a 1:14.196 from the Williams driver. And improves on Venting's lap times by just over 3/10. So a very solid job there. And Venting is heading out of the pits now. For the last attempt, we have 2 minutes left for these drivers to set their final attempts here in qualifying. Let's have a look. We have Justin Koval in the RB at the moment down in P11. Ahead of his teammate, crucially, so he is currently winning that internal teammate rivalry against Jesper Lempinen. So it'll be very interesting to see what Koval can do here today. The only new face that we have for today's proceedings gets displaced by... Who could that have been? That could have been either Christian Dorman or... It probably is Christian Dorman, who jumps up to P8. And at the moment we have a bunch of drivers who have started their final attempts here in qualifying. Let's see if we can find them. Let's cut to Jesper Lempinen. He's currently the first driver to post the final attempt. He has started his final attempt. We have under a minute left. So drivers coming around to start a flying lap now. It will be the last attempt. And Jesper Lempinen is going to be the first driver we're going to have over the line for the checkered flag. Let's see what the Finnish driver can do here. Into Acqua Minerale. Jack Richards has retired. So that is... where could that have been? That could have been just an incident. I'm not sure. We follow Lempinen a bit squirming. Coming out of the chicane there. Heading into the final 2 corners. What is he going to be able to do? As we have 7 seconds remaining of this qualifying session. Let's see. Jesper Lempinen, first drivers across the line. He jumps up to P9. I do wonder, though, whether he's going to be able to keep that. Let's see what he can do. So a couple of drivers have already finished their final attempt. We're just going to stay on board here with Justin Koval. And right in front of him we have one of the Alpines. Right behind him we have the Mercedes of Ivan Brito. Oh, Ivan Brito spins into the penultimate corner. So he's not going to improve. Max Mulder finishes his lap. Koval jumps ahead of Lempinen. And let's see, at the moment, where is Tim Venting? There we have Tim Venting. That is it for him. So let's cut to Sandro Doolis, the only man who potentially could upset Falsaresi's pole position here today. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's made a mistake somewhere along the lap. And the final driver, Samanidis, not going to be able to improve on that one. Unfortunately, George Wilkes is heading into the pits. And the gap out in front is only 0.003 of a second. Tim Venting came close, but ultimately it's not enough for the judgment here today. And it's going to be Nicolo Falsaresi on pole position for his home Grand Prix here at Imola for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. What a qualifying session we have just bared witness to here today. So great job from the homeboy hero. And it became very close, but Tim Venting ultimately has to be happy with P2 for his starting position here today. So as I said, Falzaresi on pole position, closely followed by Tim Venting, and a very solid qualifying from Sandro Doulis. Then it is George Wilkes, Max Mulder with a great qualifying session. Samanidis in his first race as a full-time driver this season gets a P6. Vincenzo Torre in P7. Dorman, Koval and Dion Stahl rounds out the top 10 for qualifying. So a very solid qualifying for, well, pretty much everyone who will call this their home venue. Both V-Carbs almost make it into the top 10, both Ferraris in the top 10, and then the homeboy hero on pole position here today. Wow. And now we have a Grand Prix to contend. It will be very interesting to see who will come out on top. We have seen Falzaresi have the pace this season. We saw it last race, actually, at Austria. He cut through the field and ended up finishing just outside the podium spots. And today his main competition from that race is starting behind him. Venting is in the position right behind him. And then we have Jerome Adamaco all the way down in the final 3 spots. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the running order is going to look like. But as the drivers head out on their reconnaissance laps, we are going to quickly take a look at let's see. We need to have a look at the tires. So Falzaresi will be starting from pole position, as we mentioned. Tim Venting, the spot right behind him. He's going to be starting on the hard tires. So a split strategy from the top 2. Then we have Doulis in P3. George Wilkes in P4. Very solid qualifying from him. Max Mulder, same story from him. Can be said. Very solid qualifying from the Dutchman. And Samanidis in P6 for the Kick Sauber team. Then we have both McLarens with Vincenzo Torre ahead of Christian Dorman. And then we have newcomer Justin Koval, the Polish driver, going to be starting his first SRL event inside the top 10. He's going to be starting P9. And then we have the other Ferrari of Dion Stahl in P10. He is going to be starting ahead of Jesper Lempinen. And then we have Ivan Brito in P12. Then we have Jack Richards substituting in the Alpine this time as we take a look at the strategy here today. The game thinks it's either going to be a 2-stop or a 3-stop. Very interesting. But Jack Richards, the only other driver to be starting on the hard tires. And he is followed by the Haas of Robin Herstadhagen. And then we have the 3 drivers who were disqualified, or not disqualified, but barred from taking part in qualifying here today. And they are being led by Jerome Adamaco, our current championship leader down in P15, followed by Jamie Egerström, and then we have Nick van Gelder in the Red Bull rounding out the grid here today at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So we have a cracking race ahead of us. We have the championship leader starting way down the field, and he's going to be most likely, if anything that he did last time out is to go by, he's going to be carving his way through the field. But that does not matter. Look at the aggressive stance on the Williams here today. It's going to be the 5 red lights for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and it is lights out, and away we go. And Falzaresi cuts across aggressively on Venting, but Venting has pulled ahead at the start. And heading into turn 1, it's going to be a duel between the two. Falzaresi brakes very late. Oh, it's contact. And Jerome Adamaco has picked up a 10-second time penalty for colliding with Ivan Brito, but it's all jumbled up. Oh, look at this. This is a mess. Oh my days. There is so much stuff going on. But Sandro Dulis leads here on lap 1 of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. And he is being followed by Nicolo Falzaresi. There's so much stuff going on in the back. And I do think we had a bit of contact, maybe. I'm not sure. But Jesper Lempinen has retired, and it is a virtual safety car. Oh, I was not able to keep up with any of that, but Sandro Dulis has made his way from P3 on the grid to the lead of the race here on lap 1. Nicolo Falzaresi, we saw the aggressive stance on the grid. He's currently running in P2. Max Mulder is in P3. He's made a great start here at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Tim Venting, we saw him run deep into the gravel trap at the beginning of the race with Falzaresi. He's currently in P4. Samanidis in P5. Jerome Adamaco has made up 10 positions almost here at the start. But he has a 10-second time penalty for a collision with his teammate. So I'm not 100% sure what has happened here as we go back to green flag racing. And we're just going to cut to the front here. We see Dulis. He's found himself in this position before. He's not a newcomer to leading races. He's a multiple race winner as we see a move for P2. Max Mulder makes a move on Falzaresi. But Falzaresi is not done here. He takes back that P2. And Venting right behind the two of them, eyeing up an opportunity to potentially get a double overtake if these two are not careful enough. But Max Mulder briefly ahead of Falzaresi, and the Dutchman is going aggressive here today. Cuts the track there. That's definitely going to be a warning for the Alpine driver. But what a start to this race. And Falzaresi, it seems he has shaken that bit of, I don't even want to call it rust from that start, but he is set on hunting down Sandro Dulis for the first position spot. Jerome Adamaco takes P1, fastest lap. Falzaresi moves into the lead here. Dulis didn't seem to fight that one that much. I do wonder what's going on, but as we see here, a move for P3. Venting moves ahead of Max Mulder. And the Red Bull driver has set his sights on the back end of that Ferrari. Oh, Max Mulder gets very, very squirmish out of turn 7 there, and that means Jerome Adamaco moves up another position. He's up into P4 already. So the top 6 has kind of broken away from the rest of the grid, it seems. They are just running their race. Saying that, it looks like Sandro Dulis. I do wonder if he does have a bit of maybe floor damage or something, because he's losing out massively to Falzaresi. Here comes Venting. Does he go for the move? No, he waits it out. And we have a spinner. That is Ivan Brito, who spun at the exit of the chicane that we just went through. Falzaresi posts the fastest lap time. Here comes Venting. Here comes Adamaco. And Adamaco is going to get a 2-for-1 here. He goes to the outside of Venting. Oh, beautiful move. He slips and dices through the two of them, and he makes it work. He's up into P2. And that last to first challenge is looking very, very probable for Jerome Adamaco here today. What a beautiful move from the German. And Tim Venting, who is just overtaking Sandro Dulis, will be thinking to himself, oh no, there goes Max Mulder. And he breaks off bits of his front right end plate. And the Dutchman, who is running very good this race. Oh, as we see an almost contact there between Jack Richards and Dion Stahl. The confusion of Max Mulder in that almost sent the other Ferrari sideways. And Dulis is dropping here very slowly. It does look like maybe he has some damage to that Ferrari's floor. At the moment he's just settling in. Samanides behind him is not able to keep up. And it does look like it is just settling down ever so slightly. So out in front at the moment, Niccolò Falzaresi has retaken the lead. But he is being hunted down by the duo consisting of Jerome Adamaco and Tim Venting. We do have a bit of a scrap here between the mid-pack, the two Alpines and the Ferrari of Dion Stahl, scrapping away. And they are currently headed by the Williams of Jamie Jägerström, who's also made up loads of positions here on the start of this race. The confusion that was at the start of this Grand Prix has meant that, well, at least two of the drivers who started at the back haven't been able to make their way into the points already by lap 5. So very solid stuff from them. As we see Justin Koval, he is currently under pressure from Jack Richards. Jack Richards lines up a move. Does he make it stick? He does. Very solid driving from the Briton in the Alpine. And Koval, is he now going to come under pressure from the Ferrari of Dion Stahl here? So he's doing very solid, to be fair, and currently running in P8 in his first event. So we don't know what kind of pace the Polish driver has to show for, but it looks very solid so far. Has kept himself out of trouble so far. Of course, we never know with these drivers if they are carrying damage potentially. It's always a bit of a guesswork. Speaking of damage, maybe, potentially, who knows. But Sandro Dulis, he's slowly being reeled in by the Kicksauber of Samanides. And we did see these two. They were teammates last race when Samanides substituted for Dion Stahl. And now here today they are not going to be... Well, they're probably going to be good friends off track. But here today they are competitors and competing heavily against each other. The two Greek drivers. So it will be interesting to see what they can do. George Wilkes picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is going to be for track extending. Most likely. That is usually what we see the 3-second time penalties being dished out for. But meanwhile, out in the front, Adamaco has caught the back of Falzaresi's Williams. And he is currently within DRS range. Are we going to see a move into turn 1 here for the lead? Jerome Adamaco around the outside. That is a very simple move. And he's up into P1. Oh, slides it through the first corner, but keeps it on the track. Very good driving there from the Mercedes driver. And his job now is just to settle down. As we see George Wilkes has retired from the race. I do wonder if he picked up a bit of damage and thus not deciding to continue. It will all be unveiled sooner rather than later. But we also have a battle here for the tail end of the points. Max Mulder making his way past Justin Koval. And he is following Dion Stahl, who's made the similar move not too long ago. So two retirements here at the start of this Grand Prix as we see Koval get very wide there into the corner at the top of the hill there as they head through Acqua Minerale. At the moment, Koval just running his own pace, not really, you know, thinking about anything else, which is a very clever move. As we see a move there, Max Mulder made a move on Dion Stahl heading into the chicane. We completely missed it. But Stahl got a bit of a poor run out of the chicane. Oh, big snap there from Max Mulder's Alpine. But he's going to be under fire now from the Ferrari, because the Ferrari has the DRS. Are we going to see a move here into turn 1? Dion Stahl, does he go for it? No, he sticks behind for the moment. Doesn't want to risk potential damage. And we see what it can do. At the moment, Max Mulder is missing both end plates on the front wing. Makes him a rocket ship in a straight line, but I could only imagine that in the corners it's a bit of a handful to control at the moment. But who knows? Maybe this is something that he is capable of driving around. Ivan Brito heading into the pits. Do wonder if that is for damage repairs or if it is a scheduled pit stop. We are on lap 8 out of 32. So I wouldn't put it past it, to be honest. I wouldn't put it past it. And we are seeing potentially a move here for P2. Tim Benting past Nicolo Falzaresi. Makes his way past the Williams. And effectively, if the race was to be called off right now, he would take victory. Simply because Aramaco is carrying a 10-second time penalty at the moment. We see a move for P6. Jack Richards goes past Jamie Jägerström. Jack Richards has actually found a groove here that is looks very solid. And he is slowly but surely making his way towards the Kick-Sauber of Samanidis in front of him. And he is bringing with him the Williams of Jägerström. So even though we have a couple of battles brewing here, the race is slowly starting to settle down. We still have a fight out in front. Tim Venting hasn't let Aramaco completely go yet. He's not within DRS, but it is very, very close. That is for sure. As we see a move for P11. And do we see? Yes, we do. Aramaco heads to pit road. So he blinks first. But it's going to be a long pit stop due to that 10-second time penalty. He's going to be stationary before he can get going again. We see another driver heading for pit road. That is Nicolo Falzaresi. And he is going for a set of medium tires. That promotes Samanidis into P3 and Jack Richards into P4. And it actually also means that Max Mulder and Dion Stahl and Justin Koval actually will all improve 2 spots here at the start of lap 10. So we are just about 1/3 of the way through this Grand Prix and we have had plenty of action. Oh, and we just cut away from it, but Dion Stahl just half spins. I don't know whether he spun it completely, but Falzaresi we see as well picking up a 3-second time penalty. And that could do a little bit of damage to his potential podium hopes. Depending obviously upon what his competition does. Tim Venting, he goes on for another lap. So he doesn't want to pit yet. So very split strategies here. We see. And what about Sandro Dulis? He's the next driver to pull past the pits. He doesn't go for it either. Neither does Samanidis. Neither does Richards. What about Max Mulder? Does he go for the pits? And does he, if he heads for the pits, does he go for the wing change? He doesn't. So we have still a couple of drivers out in front who haven't pitted yet. At the moment, you can see just about half of the drivers have made a pit stop so far. Falzaresi, the driver who is the furthest up the ranking, who has made a pit stop. At the moment, Falzaresi also the only driver carrying a penalty. Speaking and looking at... oh, here we go. Let's have a look. Max Mulder, is he going to defend this one? Doesn't look like it. Falzaresi pushing his way past the Alpine. And behind here we also have a bit of a battle brewing here. We see the Ferrari of Dion Stahl and the V-Carb of Justin Koval. And that might be the McLaren of Christian Dorman behind them. And he's going to get in the way now of Jerome Aramaco here. Gets out of the way pretty easily. But what is the German going to do here? Is he going to go for the move already? Nah, he waits until the chicane has been completed. But he has a bit of work now to do. Makes it past Koval. And his next target is going to be the Ferrari of Dion Stahl. And I do wonder if we're just going to see him blow past the Dutchman down the start-finish straight. Look at the grip difference between these two. And as we start lap 12 for these guys, we see Jerome Aramaco pulling into what is now P5 as Samanidis and Max Mulder head for pits. So he is a way behind Falsaresi at the moment, and a long way behind Tim Benting. Justin Koval picking up a 3-second time penalty in his first outing for the V-Carb squad. As we see, is this a battle for position? It isn't a battle for position. That is still the McLaren of Christian Dorman, who is a lap down at the moment. Meanwhile, Tim Benting, does he go for pits? No, he doesn't. And that is obviously due to the fact that he is on the hard tyres still. Christian Dorman picks up a 3-second time penalty. And at the moment, it is settling down ever so slightly. Doolis heads for pits for this lap. Jack Richards, similar story. So he can't take the hard tyres as long as Tim Benting can. So on lap 13, we see both Doolis and Richards head into the pits as Jerome Adamaco posts the fastest lap of the race on the hard tyres. He is slowly but surely catching Falsaresi in front of him. And at the moment, the gap to... let's see if we can actually get that. To Benting is 28.2 seconds. And he is eating into that lead that Benting has at the moment. That 10-second time penalty will definitely have done its damage. But this is by no means over yet for the German. As we see, Justin Koval has picked up, we spoke about that, he's picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently running P4. That is due to being out of sync with the rest of the drivers in terms of pit stops. And at the moment, same story goes for Vincenzo Torre. And right behind them, we are maybe seeing a battle starting to form. Jamie Jägerström has made his way past Thodoris Samanidis for P6 at the moment. Another fastest lap by Jerome Adamaco. At 1:16.8. So he's flying at the moment, doing what he needs to do. So we see a move here as... that's not a move for a position, but this might be. Let's see, Samanidis goes for the move. Oh, he's going to get boxed in here, is he? It just makes ahead of Jägerström just before they catch up to Vincenzo Torre in front of them. I have a slight inkling that this battle is not over yet between the Kicksauber and the Williams. And how much trouble is the McLaren going to cause here? Is he going to be able to blow past him quite easily? He's going to go for the move here. Samanidis pushes him out wide. Makes it a little bit more difficult for Jägerström. He's going to have to do it into Aqua Minerale and does it just before the turn-in. So very beautiful move there from the Danish Williams driver. Very solid move there. And he sets after Samanidis again for what is now P4 in this Grand Prix. It will be interesting to see if they will finish in this order or if there's going to be some controversy. Who knows? Meanwhile, Tim Benting still hasn't pitted. He's still running on those hard tyres. Currently 15 laps old hard tyres. It doesn't look like he is losing a lot of time, to be honest. Adamaco has cut his lead down to 22 seconds. So I do wonder if we're going to see Benting in maybe this lap. Let's have a look at Jerome Adamaco here. He's currently hunting down the Williams of Falsaresi. He would gain the position if the race was to finish now due to that 3-second time penalty. But I do have a feeling as we see Samanidis pick up a 3-second time penalty, we know he's pushing. And we do see this quite often when drivers do push a little bit too hard. And especially on a track like this where well, track limits are just right there. You don't have a lot of leadway. Meanwhile, Jägerström quietly hunting down Samanides. And we see, is that Max Mulder, perchance? Slowly making his way up the hill from Aqua Minerale. He did have a half spin, it seems, but gets it going. So no need for a safety car or even a virtual safety car. Not yet, at least. Meanwhile, we see Tim Venting's teammate Nick van Gelder has not had the best of days here today, as Koval picks up another 3-second time penalty. Van Gelder currently battling away with the Haas of Robin Herstadhagen. And comparing this to the race he was having last time out, Van Gelder, this has to be very disappointing from his side. As we see Herstadhagen makes it cleanly past the Red Bull, and he's currently up into P12 at the moment, the Norwegian. So he's slowly making his way the right direction. But with pit stops currently under, well, pretty much over, as we see Adamaker just completing a move. Sorry we didn't catch that, but it looked to have been a box standard pass down the start finish straight from Adamaker. And he is raging at the wheel right now. That gap is down to 17 seconds. He is driving the wheels off that car at the moment. Did we see a spin from Jägerström, I do wonder? Because he was right behind Samanides and in front of Dulis. I think Jägerström might have made a mistake here. He's only down to P6 and he has Dulis right in front of him, so he needs to pick himself back up and see if he can close down that gap and see if he can overtake the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Jack Richards slowly closing in behind. Ivan Brito picking up a 3-second time penalty. And Falsaresi at the moment sitting in that P3 spot. Not really any contention from behind, so it looks as if, as Tim Venting has headed into the pits, and he is on, what tyre has he gone on to? He is on medium tyres, so questions do have to be asked. Can he make it to the end? But he makes his pit stop and filters out in P3 ahead of Samanides, a good chunk of seconds ahead of Samanides. So that promotes Falsaresi into P2 and Jerome Adamaker into the lead. So Adamaker currently, as things stands, has made his way from P15 to P1. Pretty much all of the position gains were happening on lap 1. And he's even overcome a 10-second time penalty at this stage. So far very impressive, but we know that he's capable of doing these things, Adamaker. Not to say that it's not impressive, because it definitely is, because we're not seeing that many other drivers do what he is doing. But Falsaresi at the moment in P2 in his home Grand Prix, he hasn't really yet let Adamaker go. He's still there looming over the German should he make a mistake. But I do wonder whether Adamaker is just conserving his tyres right now. One man who's definitely not doing that is going to be Tim Venting, who at least would be hoping for a second place finish here today. Not to say that P1 is not possible, but if Adamaker keeps up this pace, it looks very unlikely that he is going to be able to do anything. But he's going to have to give it a try, at least. Samanides at the moment sitting in P4. Very, very solid race. His first outing as a full-time driver this season. And definitely showing up the rest of the Kick Sauber squad. here today, but we know what he's capable of doing. We've seen it a couple of races now. And from one Greek driver to another, we see Sandro Dooley's currently in P5. A bit of disappointing, maybe, you would think, but if speculations are correct that he has a bit of floor damage, then it's not too bad, I guess. Meanwhile, we have the other Williams, as we see Falsaresi actually heading for the pits again. He's going for another set of hard tires to take to the end for the final 12 laps. So a double pit stop for the Williams. Interesting. And he's going to filter out just behind Jack Richards. He's going to come out in P6. And we are going to keep one eye on Falsaresi. But that promotes Samanides into the podium spots. And we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. That is one of the McLarens. Is that perhaps Christian Dorman? It is. So Dorman has spun it. No safety car. But Samanides into the podium positions. He does have a penalty though. So let's have a look and see. Falsaresi picking up another penalty. So he's at the moment on 6 seconds worth of penalties here today. And Samanides on 3 seconds. So at the moment he hasn't cleared Dooley's yet for that final podium spot. So he still has a bit of work to do. And who's to say, Jack Richards has looked mighty fast here today as he gets passed by Falsaresi pretty quickly. But Richards does not carry a penalty at the moment. So if he can just stay with Falsaresi, potentially close down Dooley's and overtake him and close up to Samanides, Richards could potentially be looking at a podium. But that is a far cry as we see Falsaresi pushing mighty hard, running through the gravel trap, and that is going to let Richards back into his slipstream. We see a move here for P7. Well, that is just Vincenzo Torre heading into the pits, as Christian Dorman has elected to retire in the pits. So the McLaren not going to take part in any more proceedings here. But that also promotes Venting, the pit stop of Falsaresi, promotes Venting into P2. As he's currently navigating traffic. He just overtook his teammate and he was about to overtake the Haas of Herstadhagen. But Herstadhagen heading for the pits as Adamaco heads for the pits now. So it is a two-stopper for the German. And he has gone back onto the hard tires. Max Mulder. A severe collision with Christian Dorman. And has picked up a 10-second time penalty. I can for sure say that 10-second time penalty, granted that he does not have to pit again, is going to get redundant due to the fact that Dorman had retired. So that would have been the AI he would have collided with. But that promotes Venting into the lead. And he is currently leading Adamaco by 18.5 seconds. With 10 laps to go. As we see, that is the kick Sauber of Samanides, who's half spun it. The man who's running in P2 has looped it, and he is under attack from the homeboy hero. Falsaresi makes his way past for P4. At the moment, Adamaco closing down Sandro Dooley's. He's not going to go for the move here. Big lock up there on the front left. And what now? Is it going to be a straight, easy pass? It is. Adamaco goes into P2 and the hunt is on. 18.5 seconds with just under 10 laps to go. He's going to have to close almost 2 seconds a lap to Venting if this is going to work out. Ventink has track position. Does he have the advantage? Max Mulder has retired in the pit lane. So we're down to 13 drivers. But this is going to be exciting. We have Jerome Adamaco in the position where he needs to hunt down Tim Ventink. No penalties, no nothing. It's just a straight fight between the two. And he's already closed it down to 17 seconds. On this lap alone, he's posting purple sectors all around. And he is running riot, it seems, if this works out. But at the moment, he still has a lot of work to do. It's 16.5 seconds at the end of this lap. Starting lap 24 for himself. It's just about 16. He cracks the fastest lap again. I'm pretty sure he was already the holder of that fastest lap, but now he for sure is. As we see Jack Richards and Theodoros Samanidis going for their second pit stops. That most likely is going to promote Jamie Jägerström into P5 here at the start of his 24th lap. It does. Right now, the gap out in front down to 15 seconds. Samanidis picks up a 3-second time penalty. Wonder what that's going to do at the end of the race. So strategies are very split here. I'm not entirely sure what we are working with here. Whether Tim Ventink is attempting to go the final distance on these medium tires. He's been on those tires for 7 laps. Granted, we did see people go about 10 to 8 to 11 laps, so it is possible, but it is a long shot, and no prizes for guessing who has made the most amount of positions in this Grand Prix. It's obviously Jerome Adamaco, starting in P15, and he has made up 13 spots in this race, and the man who's lost the most amount of spots is actually shared between the two Italians here today, so I'm not going to talk any more about that due to the respect of the Italian crowd. But we see now 13.1 seconds, 13 seconds at the end of lap 25 is the gap between the two drivers out in front. The 2 out of 3 drivers we thought at the start of the season, when we were speaking to them at the beginning of the season at the preseason testing in Qatar, who was going to be the main protagonists of this season, a lot of people said these two, including Jensen Randall, as the third man. And it certainly looks that way. We have completed 25.5 laps so far in terms of Tim Ventink, the race leader in the Red Bull. But the gap is only 12 seconds down to Adamaco, and he is closing that gap rapidly with that beautiful white and, you almost want to say, Bordeaux red helmet that he is using for this Grand Prix. And he's going to be locked in. Falsaresi currently occupying the final podium spot. I do not know whether he is slowly pulling away from Dulis. It looks as if. The gap is currently 6 seconds between the two, so it looks as if, even though the victory was not on, it looks as if it's going to be a podium finish for Falsaresi at the moment, and his teammate currently running in P5. And he is he on, let's see what tires they are all on. Jägerström at the moment on 6-lap-old hard tires, so he's definitely going to the end. Samanidis, who recently just pitted for medium tires. sitting in P6, closing down Jägerström, but he has those penalties to think about. Same goes for Richards in P7, as we see a move for P8. That is Vincenzo Torre making his way past Dion Stahl. So the McLaren substitute slowly making progress here. Next car is almost 6 seconds up the road. And not to be disrespectful, but I don't think that is realistic. The gap out in front, under 10 seconds now, between Venting and Adamaco. So he is slowly closing. It's like a shark in the waters. He's just looming and he's getting closer. And Tim Venting, in a couple of laps, will have the company of the Mercedes. But how are the tyre situation going to be when we get to that point? That will definitely be the interesting part. Venting on the softer compound. He's also on the older compound at the moment. So it looks as if it's going to be in the favour of Adamaco if he closes the gap to Venting. But as they say, it's one thing to catch up, it's another thing to pass. We saw last race, how this man, Venting, he was capable of closing down Jenson Randall, but when he finally caught up to him, he spent a couple of laps behind him and ultimately couldn't find a way past the McLaren. And a very similar track here today, very narrow. Those clouds are looking kind of overcast. Are we going to see a bit of spice here towards the end of the Grand Prix? Tim Venting is going to start lap 29 out of 32. The gap is down to 7 seconds between the front two. It is getting slightly overcast, it seems. No rain yet, though. But we are going to keep our eyes peeled here today. Meanwhile, Sandro Dooley's 10, almost 11 seconds behind the podium spots. It doesn't look as if we're going to see a Ferrari on the podium here today, unfortunately. It would have been very nice, though, but with that in consideration, the homeboy hero is also a very nice story to have him on the podium. So that is definitely something we are going to keep our eyes peeled for. But right now, race settling down. We do have a bit of a battle going on. Who is that who has looped it? Hopefully that is not Tim Venting. It is not. It looks as if that would just have been... That is the wrong Red Bull that I am looking at. I do apologize. That would be the Red Bull of Nick van Gelder instead. Currently in P11. So we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. That looks as if that could be Ivan Brito, and it is. So the Portuguese driver is out on the soft tyres at the moment. Probably going for just a couple of quick laps, but he looped it at the first corner. So very interesting. But it is slowly ticking down. We have started lap 30. Venting slowly closing up to the back of... I do think that might be Justin Koval. It is the RB of Justin Koval. And if the Red Bull sisterhood is anything to go by, there we go. Koval lets Venting through without any trouble. The gap is down to 3.5 seconds almost. We have 2 laps to go. Adamaco has been closing like crazy, but he needs a little bit more. We start lap 31. And the gap is 3.2 seconds. Adamaco is slowly but surely making his way towards Venting. And it is going to be close. And as if that wasn't enough, we are going to have a splash of rain on the last couple of laps here today. I do not think we're going to see at least the front two as Koval gets out of the way of Adamaco. We're not going to see the front two box. Definitely not. But how wet is it going to get? We have 1.5 laps to go of this Grand Prix. It was an absolutely crazy start. It looks as if we're going to have a crazy finish as well, with the weather acting up. It's 2.2 seconds between the two main protagonists here today. Jamie Jägerström is battling away with Theodoros Samanidis. They resolved that, no problem. But here we go, final lap is about to be started. We see Adamaco drifting through the final corner. The rain has arrived. Tim Venting has started lap 32 out of 32. We see it is 1.5 seconds between the two front runners. And Venting, he will be looking in his mirrors right now. Adamaco is arriving fast right now. Is the weather going to play into this Grand Prix finish? It is below 1 second. We are going to have a very close finish to this Grand Prix. Venting's tyres will be screaming at the moment. But this is going to be very close through the final couple of corners here on this final lap of the race into Acqua Minerale. The weather is not acting up. Jerome Adamaco picking a lot of time out of Venting's lead. Into the chicane. Are we going to see a move? No. But Adamaco, does he get the drive? I do apologize for my coughing. My voice is going. Are we going to see a move? Adamaco to the inside. No. He scares Venting off. No way. Venting, the penultimate corner, drops it, and Jerome Adamaco on the final lap wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix ahead of Tim Venting. Oh no, Venting. And Nicolo Falsaresi completes the podium here today. So the homeboy hero makes his way onto the podium. And it is Sandro Dulis who comes home in P4. Theodoros Samanidis, I don't think he's going to keep P5 ahead of Jamie Jägerström because of those penalties. But what a crazy finish to the race. It looked as if Tim Venting thought that Jerome Adamaco was going to go for the move, but ultimately that wasn't a move that was on, but he got scared out of the line. And well, who knows, maybe the weather was acting up ever so slightly, just enough to take him off the line. But in the penultimate corner, Tim Venting loses the lead. It is Jerome Adamaco who wins here today. We're just waiting for Dion Stahl to complete proceedings here today. What a crazy finish to this race, and it is with a very familiar face heading the field, but that came down to the last couple of corners. What a crazy finish. Wow. Take a bow. Jerome Adamaco, he started P15, made his way through the field, but picked up a 10-second time penalty along the way for a collision with his teammate. Drove like crazy at the beginning of the race, pitted for a tire change, served his 10-second time penalty, and on the last lap of the race, he takes victory here at Imola for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix and extends his lead in the championship. What a crazy day for the Mercedes squad as well. Wow. And commiserations for Tim Venting. He drove a perfect race up until the penultimate corner, and then it all went away. And Nicola Falsaresi, after starting on pole position, coming home in P3, cannot be too bad. But there we go. What a crazy finish to the race. And I did promise that for the special occasion here today that we were going to have an interview with the homeboy hero should he finish on the podium, which he did. So we will get a comment from Nicolo Falsaresi just in a moment. So if you hang on, we'll be right back. We are very shortly going to have him, hopefully. It's just taking a bit of a while. I do apologize. But what a crazy race. And I'm completely out of breath, it has to be said. That was crazy. It doesn't seem well. We're just gonna have a look. Let's have a look. I am truly sorry for it taking so long. There we go. Nicola Falsaresi. Oh, what a crazy race. Wow. And as we are just waiting for him, we don't have to wait long. Nicola Falsaresi. P3.
Hello.
P3.
Hello. Yeah, that's P3, mate.
How?
I'm so happy about it.
I can imagine. I mean, home track, you got pole position as well. I mean, how does that feel on your home Grand Prix?
It's feeling just amazing just because it was something that was missing, that's been missing for a long time. But it was a bit lucky, I've got to say, just because it was by 3,000, so that was really tight. But yeah, it feels so good because doing that on my home race in Imola is always special.
I can imagine. And talk me through that race start, because obviously you started in pole position, but you went into the mid-pack and then there was a lot of chaos. We didn't catch all of it. What happened at the race start?
It was a little bit of a misfortunate contact because I started in a worse way than Tim did. So I'm sorry for what happened, obviously, and I'll apologize to him privately.
Yeah.
But yeah, simply I wanted to go through the first corner in first place, but unfortunately he braked so late, and he was really committed to the corner. So I think I could fit in that place, but I couldn't, and I went wide. So I brought Tim wide with me. So yeah, that's just pure misfortune. But yeah, that was what happened.
Yeah. And then obviously it seemed like things just settled down. You did pick up a couple of penalties along the way. Ultimately, it didn't really play into your finishing position because, I mean, Tim Venting far out in front, Jerome Adamaco pulling through the grid like the madman that he is. Was P3 realistically the best finishing result that was realistic today for you?
I think it was. Just because Jerome just stormed through the grid like hell. He is such a good driver. I mean, he is just mentally good. And yeah, Tim is also good. He did something remarkable today. So I think, yeah, the third position was the best possible result for me today. considering the pace, considering everything, and also the penalties that I picked up along the way. So yeah, I think that was the maximum. But I wanted a podium because I want to take things in a calm way, because in the past 2 or 3 years I was really explosive, but now I think I am a more calm driver. I pick up my points, I finish the race without any major problems, and that's why I am always really consistent. So today I wanted to have this.
And you got it. I mean, yeah, there's not much more to say. Lastly, just before we let you go, do you have anything that, because we obviously know that you have a lot of fans watching the live streams, a lot of Italian fans. We have also seen them in the live chat today, especially since it is the first Italian track to feature on the calendar this year. Do you have anything to say to them in Italian specifically?
Oh, yeah, let's go. È stata una gara comunque molto difficile dal punto di vista mentale, perché comunque pensavamo di poter fare bene, fortunatamente abbiamo fatto bene e è stata una gara difficile, comunque dove resistere anche mentalmente sapevamo non sarebbe stato facile e purtroppo ho cercato di uscire primo dalla prima curva, ma sfortunatamente diciamo che tirando la staccata un po' troppo ottimista sono andato un po' lungo e mi sono toccato con Tim, siamo andati lunghi, gli chiederò scusa in privato e sicuramente sono cose che dispiacciono, sono cose che succedono, ma d'altra parte volevamo il podio, siamo riusciti a prendercelo e gli obiettivi per quest'anno sono molto uno alla volta, quindi volevamo la pole, l'abbiamo presa, volevamo il podio, l'abbiamo preso e adesso si punta a una vittoria, quindi si spera bene. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie. I'm just going to let you go now, Nicola, but yeah, looking forward to seeing what you can produce in the upcoming races, because it has to be said, you and, well, both of the Williams have been very fast so far this season, and I definitely look forward to what you two can do in the upcoming races, so I definitely look forward to that. But I'm going to let you head back to the other drivers and maybe talk through a couple of incidents or whatever. But thank you for joining us here in the commentary and having time to give an interview.
Thank you for hosting me.
No problem. Absolutely. Well, you have a good day.
One. Ciao.
Ciao. There we go. There is your podium sitter, the homeboy hero, Nicola Falsaresi, and what he had to say about the whole, well, weekend, essentially. The pole position, the controversy at the start, and ultimately his finishing position in P3. What a great drive from him. And that concludes for today, I am afraid. I would love to continue with the rest of the season now, because if this is the tone setter for what we're going to see for the remaining part of the season, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, commiserations, Tim Venting. Congratulations to Jerome Adamaco. My name has been Sam, and I have been your commentator for today. I look forward to seeing you at the next Grand Prix, but that is going to have to wait, because next week is the 1 hour of not Fuji, but Suzuka in the GT3 series. So make sure that you tune in for that, and I am definitely going to be partaking behind the wheel in that one, and you are going to be guided through by the soothing voice of reigning world champion Jensen Randall instead. And until we see each other again, I wish you all a very lovely evening, and don't forget to head over to Instagram. It is at SRL_F1, because that is where you are going to see all of the updates, if there's going to be any post-race penalties applied to the results, because all of the results that we do here on the live stream are obviously provisional. So do make sure that you head over there, and also don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss next time we go live. But that has been everything for me. I wish you all a very nice evening, and until we see each other again, Have a good one.